it's great to have you back. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. We're on the organisation topic, and if you've been watching my videos, you'll know that we have just finished the digestive system. Today, we're going to move on to the heart and the blood vessels. As always, include tips, linking words and exam questions for this video. Keep watching. In this video, we will look at the heart and we will look at the blood vessels. The heart is an organ within the circulatory system and it pumps blood around the body. The blood carries food in the form of glucose and oxygen around the body. A tip to remember is that it can carry other substances such as proteins and water, and also can carry waste products, and these waste products include things like carbon dioxide and urea. The heart is known as the double circulatory system. Humans have a double circulatory system. This means that the blood goes through the heart twice. Let's have a look at what the double circulatory system means. So here we have the heart. If we label this box here as the lungs and we label this box here as the body, you can see that we have an area which is shown as blue on one side and red on the other side. The blue represents the deoxygenated blood, which means it has no oxygen in it, and the red arrows show the oxygenated blood, which means it contains oxygen. The heart has 4 chambers, 1, 2, 3 and 4. We'll look at these chambers and how the blood travels in the circulatory system in my next video. But for now, I want you to remember that the bottom chambers are called the ventricles. This is the right side of the heart and this is the left side of the heart. And again, that's something we will elaborate on in my next video, so make sure you watch that. But firstly, the deoxygenated blood is pumped out of the heart from the right ventricle into the lungs. It goes into the lungs to collect the oxygen, and it comes out of the lungs and back into the heart. Once it's in the left side, it is then pumped out of the heart again for the second time, and this blood is now carrying the oxygenated blood, so it's carrying the oxygen and it needs to carry it to the body. So the oxygenated blood comes out of the left ventricle into the body. The body uses the oxygen in this blood, the cells go through respiration, and now the blood doesn't have any oxygen left in it anymore, so it now becomes the deoxygenated blood, which is represented as the blue colour. This deoxygenated blood goes back into the heart for the second time, and it goes through down into the ventricles and out of the ventricles back up to the lungs to collect some more oxygen, and the cycle keeps going on. To remember, the blood is oxygenated when it goes from the lungs to the body, and when it comes from the body and it goes to the heart, it is deoxygenated. The heart pumps the blood from the right ventricles to the lungs, and here we have the gas exchange taking place. The gas exchange involves the delivery of oxygen and the removal of the waste product, which is the carbon dioxide. The lungs are associated with the trachea, the bronchi and the alveoli, which is where the gas exchange takes place. The alveoli is surrounded by lots of capillary networks which contain the blood and allow the gas exchange to take place. If you've been watching my previous videos, you will know that we've covered this. If you haven't, please follow the link above and make sure to check it out. From the left ventricle, it has received the oxygenated blood from the lungs and it pumps the blood to the rest of the body. we will need to know the vena cava, the pulmonary artery, the pulmonary vein, the aorta and the coronary artery. We will look at these in more detail in my next video, so make sure you tune in. Tip to remember: the walls of the heart are mostly made up of muscle tissue, more commonly known as the cardiac muscle. This brings us to the last section, exam questions. Question 1. The circulatory system transports substances around the body. Name the two substances that the circulatory system transports around the body, and this is worth 2 marks. Thinking back to the theory, there was lots of substances that were transported, such as proteins, water. We had waste products as well, which included carbon dioxide, urea, but the main 2 substances we talked about was food and the gas, which is oxygen. The food was in the form of glucose. So for our answer, we should write glucose and oxygen. However, had we wrote proteins or water, we would still get the mark. Question 2. The heart is part of the circulatory system. What type of tissue is the wall of the heart made from? And this is worth 1 mark. We just mentioned that the wall of the heart was made up of muscle tissue and in particular the cardiac muscle. Part B. The heart is often described as a double pump. Describe why and worth 1 mark. Remember, the double means that the blood goes through the heart times 2. Remember, the blood goes from the heart to the lungs to collect the oxygen, and then from the lungs to the body. For our answer, we can say from the right side or the right ventricle, the blood goes to the lungs, and from the left side or the left ventricle, the blood goes to the rest of the body. Our linking word today is oxygen. When we think of oxygen, we can think of the heart. When we think of the heart, we can think of blood. When we think of blood, we can think of glucose. When we think of glucose, we can think of respiration. When we think of blood, we can also think of oxygen, which is also connected to respiration. When we think of respiration, we can think of energy. When we think of heart, we can think of 4 chambers. When we think of 4 chambers, we can think of the ventricles. When we think of the ventricles, we can think of blood going to the lungs. When we think of lungs, again we can think back to oxygen, which can then be linked to respiration and energy. We think of lungs, we can think of alveoli. We think of alveoli, we can think of gas exchange. We think of gas exchange, again we can think of oxygen, which can then be linked to respiration. And oxygen, we can think of carbon dioxide, which we can link to alveoli, which then we can link to gas exchange, and oxygen and respiration and energy. Think of blood, we can also think of deoxygenated blood. When we think of deoxygenated blood, we can think of no oxygen, and we can also think of oxygenated blood. When we think of blood, and oxygenated blood means it has oxygen, and you can link the oxygen back to respiration, back to energy. As you can see, with our linking words, we can build lots and lots of linking words which are interconnected and revise lots of different topics. If you've enjoyed my video, please keep watching, keep tuning in. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.